All right, hey folks, Rob Wolkenbrod of DailyDDT.com here. Usually we provide audio talking about the WWE pay-per-views, but instead we are here to speak with the director of the documentary At What Cost? Anatomy of Professional Wrestling. This is director Mark Chervinsky. He has also worked on shows like The Apprentice and The Biggest Loser. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so getting straight into it, how did you get into professional wrestling?
My first exposure was as a kid, about third grade. My parents took me over to their parents' house, and they had bought the pay-per-view WrestleMania 1, and I was, immediately hooked. I mean, I'd never seen it before. It was quite the spectacle. Vince really put on a show. So from there, I was in probably a good solid 4 years. I didn't have cable, so I was, only exposed to magazines and the Saturday afternoon, events. And then buddies of mine and I that liked the product, we would, seek out VHS tapes, from the video store. So I was in it pretty heavy for a while, and then I kind of faded out when I got into sports in high school, and then reintroduced to it when I was in film school. My roommate was into the Monday Night Wars, and I was out heading out to bartend, and I'd catch some of it here and there. And he introduced me to Goldberg, and so I always kind of knew what was going on. And then when I got out here to Hollywood and started editing some TV shows, I was able to edit Wrestling Society X for MTV to like Teddy Hart and Aaron Aguilera, Joey Chaos, X-Pac, and I just saw how the product had changed. And then from there on to Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling for Eric Bischoff and Jason Hervey. So I've been around it a little bit, and that's kind of where, cutting that show is where I kind of decided to make this documentary.
Very nice. And do you stay up to date today with like WWE, ROH, TNA, any of the other big names out there still?
I'm on a lot of the Facebook sites, so I'm aware of what's going on. But my schedule's so busy, and there's so much product in the WWE that I just can't really fully invest. So I don't know all the storylines, but I'm aware of what's going on, just not at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
I see the news. I see the news a day or two later, so I know what's going on. But
yeah.
I actually prefer. After making the movie, I actually prefer to go see it live. There's a lucha event in town tonight that has Teddy Hart on it that I might check out after work.
Very nice, very nice. So, getting into the movie, what was your inspiration for making it?
When I was doing WFX, I get to meet some of the boys that come around the edit room, and they're a little younger than me, but I just thought they were fascinating people. And then I kind of found out what they made, and then I was like, oh, that's not as much as I had anticipated. Because when you see these guys on TV, you think, oh, they're big, getting paid what they deserve, but as we all know, they're probably not.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, why do they do it then? Because clearly the payday's not there for everybody. And I just, and the fact that people in their 40s and and beyond are still paying attention to this thing that I got into when I was 8, fascinated me. So I just kind of wanted to know what made both sides tick, and so I kind of went off onto this 4-year adventure of following wrestlers around and fans.
Well, it took 4 years to gather all the because you had to have interviewed, I would say, like, 30 plus people in there and put hours of like road trips in there.
I put the camera on 100. Yeah, I put the camera on 170 people.
Damn! Wow.
Eventually, I just had to stop filming because it was just fun to go around and do it. People let you. The beauty is people let you in a locker room if you got a camera. It's people like, oh, he must be important. He's gonna act like what he's doing. And I saw very few roadblocks. And I just kind of went, and it was fascinating. I got to get, I grew up thinking these guys were, mortal enemies, and here they are, buddying around in the locker room, obviously with the death of kayfabe or the, putting on life supports, I guess we all kind of know that now.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, I rode around with two guys, these two heels, and Matt Sigmund and King Shane Williams through the Smoky Mountains. And, they go to town and wrestle each other, but, they're best friends. But, they can go behind the curtain and come out enemies, which is, kind of a good, it was cool to see, like from a, an outsider's, vantage point with an insider feel. It's kind of how I like to, describe the movie.
Yeah, it had that cool feeling, like you kind of like pulled back the curtain on everything. I thought that was fascinating because, I mean, we see like WWE tries to do it here and there, but like this was really like seeing two like guys who wrestle each other, people who think they hate each other, and then they go into it, and then you see these guys are best friends. I thought that was pretty cool how it like dove into that.
Yeah, don't be fooled. I mean, some people really do hate each other. So, like the Willie Mack Centron match, they actually hate each other now. So
wow.
There's some real heat there. I think Centron took off with the belt and was never seen again.
Oh my god! Oh, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, another thing in the movie that I was just fascinated by, and just happened to be lucky that I was there at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in the movie, is when Willie Mack finds out that he's losing the title in a few hours. It wasn't like it was hey, we're thinking about doing this next month. It was like, hey, we're doing this today, and you're going to lose the title.
What was like the atmosphere in the room like that? Because I saw like, and he kind of had this blank stare in his face. He's like, okay, and he didn't really have much of a comment.
Sure, you don't want to lose the belt, but you also don't want to be a bad team player. I think it's like, I mean, he was told he was going to get it back eventually, but when you're the champ, you're the champ, and everybody knows you're the champ. But if you lose the belt, you're no longer the champ. So I mean, there's got to be something there. I mean, I heard along the way when I was interviewing Paul London, he learned he was getting the tag team belts. That night too, and like I forget who told him. He's like, "Yeah, I think you kids are taking the belts tonight." He's like, no. He's like, "No, I'm pretty sure it's happening because the Dudley Boyz are outside of Vince's office politicking to keep them."
Oh, so wow!
That's how you find that stuff out. So, yeah, I know way more about the business than I deserve to. I think from making this movie, it's pretty cool. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, who was your favorite person to interview? Like, was it Paul London? Was it Jake the Snake Roberts? Greg Valentine?
I marked out the hardest for Greg the Hammer. I didn't get to interview him as long, but like meeting him was a grade school moment for me because I used to put kids in the figure four, on the playgrounds, growing up. So he was like an idol of mine. So like, I live in Hollywood. I see celebrities all the time. It's usually not a big deal, but like I was sitting there at Cauliflower Alley, and it's about midnight, and we're sitting in the TGI Fridays, which is the only place to drink or one of two places to drink in the place. And I looked over, with my buddy Dave, and I was like, holy shit, there's Greg the Hammer Valentine. And I was like, shit. I was like, I need him in my movie. So I had to go over and basically pick him up like I picked up my wife. My moves haven't changed, I guess. I walked up to the bar with my back to him and ordered my buddy a drink and myself a drink. I was like, Hammer, you need a drink? He's like, no, I can't save your money. I'm like, all right, do you mind if I have a seat? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And so I sat there, he's talking with his buddy, so I'm not going to bother him. So I'm talking to my friend and wait for him to go out and have a smoke, and Greg's kind of lulled in conversation. So I kind of saw my opportunity to introduce myself and tell him I'm making this movie. And he's like, okay, tell me more about it. So I told him some more. And he's like, all right, I'll do the interview. So we waited around till like 4:00 to get some free time with him the next day. But it was super cool to sit down with somebody that you just grew up watching. That was cool. But interview-wise, I think I really enjoyed the 3 hours I spent with Paul London, talking from the first days he got into it all the way up to the WWE and where he is now. The road, him not knowing how to tell a story in the ring. He just knew how to do a lot of moves, and and then listening to Jake speak for hours too was, just awesome. I could make, single movies on any of those guys that I talked about. The most surprising interview that I did was actually the Almighty Sheik, and he might not be on a lot of people's radar, but somebody should definitely know who he is, because the guy speaks, wisdom from the veteran point of view of a wrestler, like, what it is to be a good heel, and how to monetize the business, and I think everybody could learn from him.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought his views and everything were like the most like truthful. They had like a lot of passion, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that was total accident even to get him on the camera, and actually now we're friends. So that's pretty cool.
So now I assume, though, that you approached people and they weren't really interested in doing it. Was there anyone who didn't want to be on camera for things to say?
Colt Cabana. He wanted money, which, it is business. It is a business. It is to make money, but let's see. Big Papa Pump gave me a bunch of slack.
Oh, but, man.
And he's a scary dude, so I wasn't going to push it.
Yeah, his PR hasn't been the best, so I assume he didn't want to get on front of the camera for anything.
Well, rumor has it the cops woke him up in the middle of the night before at the hotel we were staying at in Arkansas. Something to do with weed, I don't know. This is secondhand information, so don't quote me on it.
Oh, I won't. Don't worry. All right. Well, in the lighter move of all this, during the documentary, we saw that bad tag team match that afterwards Sigmund spoke to the wrestlers about. Was that something you just like coincidentally just caught on camera, or were like, did anyone say like, oh, these guys aren't good, and like get a hold of this and something like that?
It was awesome. That's as it looks in the film, in the movie, is how it actually felt, live. Like, it felt like I was capturing something I shouldn't have been capturing. I just happened to have my night sun on me, like fully charged, which it usually isn't. Only because it was the second day of shooting that I actually had it charged. But yeah, I didn't. Filming at the time, I wasn't aware of how bad it was until I actually went back and watched the footage. But Sigmund took an opportunity, to let these guys have it. And, you're either going to learn or you're not, and then the next day, one of the wrestlers, was sitting there popping off on Twitter, about how he got chewed out and, with some fan, and, he's going on and trying to basically blowing himself up, saying how, he didn't deserve, getting yelled at and stuff like that. But the match is garbage, and that, it has no place in the business. I was actually shocked because, like, the night before is when, they were training those guys, when they're taking bumps with their wallets and keys in their pockets, to say how, ill-equipped they are to be in the ring, and I was, as we were leaving, I was like, who's on the, match tomorrow? And he's like, oh, a couple of those guys. And I was like, those guys? They're going to let them in the ring? Like, I just couldn't see it. And, they had no business being there. So, yeah, it was awesome to catch that moment. And, and it was actually longer. I had to cut it down for the film. But, yeah, he gave them some business.
Yeah, I was certainly something like just watching the moves in there. He's just like that like, I don't know. It just seemed like they had next to no experience, but hey, you got to learn from somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think they all had their spots, but they didn't know how to get into the spot. You saw the one time, like, they're like, almost like fooling around. Like, no, you stand over here. No, you stand over here. Wait. I need to be over here if I'm going to do this kind of thing. It was like, there was no, it was garbage.
Oh, definitely. So one of the biggest things I picked up from the movie was the heat for wrestlers. Everyone argued how it's gone, and and they're right. And the same thing with kayfabe, like you touched on earlier before, which pretty much disappeared too. Do you think at this point either can really be brought back?
I think Heat's still there. I mean, kayfabe's been, on life support for a while, but these guys still feel passionate about the people they get behind. I mean, and the parts they're talking about, still getting stabbed. These are guys fairly new to the business. They're taking box cutters and to the elbows and getting their cars fucked with. Oh, sorry, cars messed with. So Heat's not dead. I don't think you're going to get the gunshots as much as it was used to, which was completely scary. Jake the Snake talks about the guy taking 2 shots at him. Rock Riddle, it didn't make the movie, but Rock Riddle had the same thing where some guy, got taken out in a wheelchair, and the cops told him because he had a gun underneath his blanket and it was for him. So it's crazy. But Jerry Lynn, he talks about, the beginning part of the story took too long to tell, but the back half is in there, and it's basically that they were somewhere in Ohio, I think, and some big time baby face was there, and the local kids had come up and given a Valentine's Day card with all their names on it and stuff like that, and then Jerry and some other heel came out and ripped the card apart, and even the heel fans turned on him and they're like, now you've gone too far. And so he still exists, just not in that 40 guys chasing you down the street kind of moments, I don't think. But and kayfabe to a certain degree does too. I saw a match in Morristown where Kincaid, I forget who he was facing, but he did a gimmick where he knocked the guy out, and then somebody put the gimmick in his shorts, and then the guy pins Kincaid, and then the referee comes through, and then the manager says, "Oh no, he's got a gimmick in his pants," and they pull out, or in his shoe, and pulls out the gimmick, and they go, "Oh no, you're disqualified." And the guy in the front row lost it, just screaming at the referee. He's like, "No, he cheated! He cheated!" So he just beside himself for 15 minutes, and he just couldn't comprehend that this guy cheated. So kayfabe exists. It's just not nearly as well as I guess it's like Santa Claus, I guess. So it's whether you believe or not. So, but I think it needs to some degree still be there, just to think that maybe these guys really don't like each other, and sometimes they don't. So I think that's kind of cool.
And I guess this question can tie into this too. Is the believability of wrestling still there today? Because I saw there was a couple of points touched on where some argue that you need to be big, strong, and 6'4" or whatever, or you can be like the technical wrestler guys who are smaller and they have more skills in the ring. Do you think that believability of that is still there today?
I think everybody believes that what they do actually hurts the people, so I think that's where your believability comes in. I think you're kind of going in there now, to kind of see some of the high-flying stuff. The first time I saw Teddy Hart do an open heart surgery, I was like, damn. That's impressive. But yeah, if I see a 150-pound guy in the ring, I'm not scared. When I met Jake the Snake and DDP, I was blown away by how big they were. I'm 6 foot, and there's a picture of the three of us in the movie, and I'm dwarfed by these guys. They're huge. So those are the guys I grew up watching. I guess any match is as believable as you can make it. Are we going to think that Mankind didn't hurt himself when he came out the top of the cage? There's believability there. What is his tooth go through his lip? That's can't fake that. So
yeah, he nearly died.
Yeah, but also look at these guys in ECW. They almost killed themselves for the fans, and some of those guys are all partially crippled up now. So they did it for the fans. So that's the sad part about it. Is once you're done and can't no longer do the moves, where are the fans then? So it's sad.
Certainly, and another, this could tie into this a little bit, but towards the end of the documentary, Matt Sigmund was surprisingly very open about his use of steroids, specifically saying he's done it before and he will do it again. Did that seem surprising to you, and were other wrestlers admitting this off camera?
It blew me away. It's something I wanted to get into, but I never really thought that I would have the ability to get it on camera. And he was so open about it. I mean, that's a cut down version. But yeah, he, and what he said makes complete sense. And I was lucky enough to have Chris Bell on the opposite side, who made Bigger, Stronger, Faster, who also did a cycle of steroids, I believe, for the movie. Just to kind of counterpoint, with the pros and cons of steroids, because everybody just assumes the steroids are killing these people, but he thinks it's the booze and the pain pills that's probably actually killing the people. But I was blown away that he offered that information. I almost didn't want to put it in the movie because I almost felt like, well, maybe he didn't really want to say that and doesn't realize that this is going to live on forever. But my wife is a journalist for the LA Times, and she's like, no, he said it. You'll be doing him a disservice if you don't put it in. I was like, okay. So I was more than happy to have it in the movie because it's kind of what it's what a lot of people are curious. They think they know, maybe they don't know. But yeah, I didn't. No one else offered up that information. I saw a few guys that I could probably guess, but I didn't want to put the words in their mouth.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And to wrap this up, last question from your point of view, after speaking to all these wrestlers, is the payoff of wrestling worth it?
I have a hard time with that one because I never want to tell someone to let their dream die because as a broke kid, I moved out here to Hollywood and I consider myself making it. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and it's kind of like acting in the fact that I just read a thing about Chris Pratt just put some stuff on his Instagram talking about how he's broke eating sardines, because he always wanted to be an actor, and now he's on top of the world, and he gets to do what he still loves, and he's like continue on your craft, and it'll eventually work out for you. I don't know if that's true in wrestling. I mean, sure, you can get in the ring and you can. I mean, I guess it depends on what your view of success is. I mean, if success is just traveling around the world, seeing places, and being able to do it, make it, not go broke, but I think I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to say to each their own. I mean, you got to kind of find out what making it is to you. I mean, as we saw, I think Sigmund and King Shane are amazing. Will they ever make the WWE? I doubt it, just surely by size. I mean, there's only a one Rey Mysterio out there, and but then again, it's something I struggle with. You can obviously tell. I was like, I wish these guys could make more money. I wish these guys could make more money because they're really deserving. And if you go to your live match, you're highly entertained for your anywhere from $10 to $20, $30 unless you're paying WWE prices. But you can sit front row and see that King of Flight tournament I saw that Brian Kendrick put on. That had Paul London, the Amazing Bucks, or the Young Bucks, Amazing Red, Samurai Del Sol, Ricochet. I think I'm screwing up a few of these names, but I don't know if the money's there. I mean, people don't want to pay. So I mean, you got to make your own decisions in life, and I wish them all the best because I think they're really talented. There's a lot of really talented wrestlers out there, and I wish there was more money in it for them because that's kind of, I consider these guys my friends now, and I just want the best for them. I guess that's probably the best way I can say it. The long version of the short version.
Yeah, like I remember watching, like, I think King Shane Williams was saying he went into a ring, he had a rough match, and then he came out and promoter said, "Oh, great, here's $10." And it's like, after doing all that, after driving all that way, here's all the pay you get. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, we drove down to Morristown, so it was an hour drive both ways, had lunch, had the match, had dinner, came home, paid for gas. $10 isn't cutting it. You just lost, I don't know, maybe you lost $20 to go down and wrestle for 50 people. So that's the downfall of, there's too many wrestlers out there and not enough, good ones. So it's a tough road, and I have my hats off to anybody trying to do it because I know it's not an easy way to make a living. But they love it, and I see that now, and I don't think you can tell them not to. So I think we're always going to have wrestling in this world, and and the problem is, you gotta have a screw loose to get into the ring the first part. So maybe those guys are making the best business decisions and the along the way. So I don't know, but I hope if you listen to this and I made some sense and you're curious as to what the movie is about, you'll tune in and go to atwhatcostthefilm.com and check out you can stream the movie from there, and there's some cool T-shirts and posters and merchandise, and you can also follow me on Twitter at WrestlingDoc. And you can look up the Facebook page at What Cost, and I don't know, follow it, see what we've been talking about for the last half hour.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great documentary. I recommend it to anyone who has interest in wrestling to go check it out. It is a very worth it watch for 90 minutes. So, Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.